With the first pick, we have Trevor Lawrence, who has established himself as a starter in the league, but hasn't taken the next step yet, and is probably in the slightly below average range among starting QBs. But he is still an okay starter, so he gets a C. Zach Wilson never worked out with the Jets and had an atrocious 23 to 25 touchdown interception ratio with them. It was clear they needed to move on from Wilson, so they traded him to Denver, and he's now the Dolphins' backup QB. At this point, the best situation is he's a career-long backup and stays in the league. At 3, we have another terrible quarterback draft pick with Trey Lance. Not only did Lance not work out at all with the 49ers, but they also gave up the 12th pick that year and 2 first-rounders to get him, which will go down as one of the worst trades in recent memory. Kyle Pitts is one of the highest drafted tight ends ever, and you rarely ever see tight ends go this early, and it looks like it wasn't worth the pick. He had over 1,000 yards his rookie year, but has gone downhill since then in these 10 career touchdowns. And every year it seems like people think Kyle Pitts will have his breakout year, but it never happens. He's still a solid tight end, but it'll have to be a D plus considering he's not even a top 10 tight end, despite being the highest drafted tight end in the league. Here's our first hit with Ja'Marr Chase, who's easily an A plus. Chase is the best receiver in the league and just won the Triple Crown last year, and has been a Pro Bowler every year with 411 career catches, 5,616 yards, and 47 touchdowns in only his 5th season, and this pick built the best QB wide receiver duo in the league. Jalen Waddle had 1,000-yard seasons in his first 3 years in the NFL, but is coming off his worst season with only 744 yards and 2 touchdowns. Even though he's been productive, I'll have to give him a B, since with the 6th pick, the expectation is you're getting a top 20 receiver in the league, which he is not right now, even though he probably was a few seasons ago. Next, we have back-to-back A-plus picks with Penei Sewell, who is one of the best tackles in the NFL. He's probably the best run-blocking tackle in the league, which has helped the Lions to have one of the best backfields in the NFL. And he's still a good pass blocker, but not elite at it like he is at the run block. Considering he's a top 5 tackle in the league, he gets an A+. Horn has struggled to stay on the field, but when he's healthy, he's one of the better corners in the game, and one of the few bright spots on the Panthers' defense. He made a Pro Bowl last season and signed a $25 million a year extension, and only allowed around 30 yards per game, but did allow 6 touchdowns. And him struggling to stay on the field knocks him down a little, but he's still very good, so he gets a B+. Pat Surtain gets an A+ because he is regarded as one of, if not the best quarterback in the game, and won Defensive Player of the Year last year, which is extremely difficult to do as a corner. He's also a 3-time Pro Bowler and finished on 2 All-Pro first teams, and only allowed 20 yards a game last season, and a big reason why the Broncos' defense is so good. There were major concerns about Devonta Smith's size coming out of college, but he's proven that it hasn't mattered. His stats don't jump off the page, but he's also not even the wide receiver one on his own team because they have A.J. Brown, and the Eagles are very run heavy, and Hurts doesn't like to throw the ball downfield. So I'll give him I'm between giving him an A- or B+, but I'll go with A-. Unless Justin Fields can prove himself with the Jets these next 2 years, he'll be a career backup. He's been given many chances, but he hasn't proved he can throw and read the field good enough to be a starting caliber quarterback. I won't give him an F because he's had his moments and been good enough to keep getting chances. But since he just isn't a starting QB in this league, he gets a D+. Micah Parsons is an easy A+ and has been a top 3 edge rusher in the NFL. He's been a Pro Bowler every season and has made an All-Pro team 3 out of his 4 years, and it's just a matter of time before he wins a Defensive Player of the Year. Cowboys didn't want to pay him, so he got traded to the Packers, and has instantly transformed their defense. Through 65 games, he has 54 sacks, 64 tackles for loss, and 9 forced fumbles. We have back-to-back A+s with Rashawn Slater. Slater's been one of the best tackles in the NFL, and according to PFF, he was the 3rd in pass blocking and 2nd overall among tackles. He was a Pro Bowler his rookie year, where he also was on the 2nd All-Pro team, and was a Pro Bowler last year, but unfortunately he's missing the whole 2025 season. Elijah Vera Tucker has improved every season, and its best season last year, finishing top 10 among guards according to PFF. And he is one of only 6 guards to have at least a 74 PFF grade as a run blocker and pass blocker, just like Slater. He will unfortunately miss all of the 2025 season, too. Mac Jones had a solid rookie year, somehow making a Pro Bowl, finishing second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting, but it was all downhill from there, and they moved on from him after the 2024 season, where he will now be a career backup. He started 7 games for the Jags last year, where he didn't play great, and is now the starter for the 49ers because of Brock Purdy's injury. I can't give him an F because he's played good at times and is still a solid backup, but I can't grade him very high, so just like Fields, I'll give him a D+. Zaven Collins originally started out as an inside linebacker but transitioned into an edge rusher in 2023. He did lead the team in sacks last season, but that isn't saying much since he only had 5 sacks, along with 7 tackles for loss. The Cardinals did extend him for 2 years, $14 million before last season, and he's been a starter his whole career. So I'll give him a C- since they definitely expected more, but he's still a starting caliber edge rusher. Next up is the easiest F of the whole draft, which is when the Raiders drafted tackle Alex Leatherwood. It was considered a horrible pick at the time since he was projected as an early third-rounder. He only played 1 season with the Raiders before being cut and played 4 games with the Bears in 2022 and has been out of the league since. Phillips had a career-high 6.5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss his rookie year and followed it up with 7 sacks and 8 tackles for loss his second year, but since then he hasn't been able to stay healthy, only playing 12 games between 2023 and 2024, where he had 7.5 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. I'll give him a B- since he's been productive when available, but he's just been good and nothing exceptional. Damon Davis didn't live up to his expectations the first 3 seasons with the Commanders, where they tried switching him to defensive end but just ended up cutting him, and he's currently not on an NFL roster. The only reason he's not an F is because he did start 3 seasons, and his stats didn't look terrible even though it didn't tell the full picture. But I'm going to give him the closest I can to an F by giving him a D-. Tony was underwhelming his rookie year and got traded to the Chiefs in year 2, and never really produced for them, and he's currently out of the league. He had severe drop problems, off the field issues, and attitude issues which held him back, and this one's an easy F since he's already out of the league and had poor production. Paye has been a very solid edge rusher for the Colts, playing 60 games and having 26.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 32 tackles for loss. I'm giving him a B since he was a little later in the first round, and while not being a double-digit sack guy, he's still productive. Farley has only played 21 games in his career and only starting 3 and just couldn't stay healthy. And he was waived from the Titans before the 2024 season and played with the Panthers last year, but it looks like his career is unfortunately over. This tackle class has been elite, with Christian Darrisaw being the 3rd A+ tackle. Right now he's hurt due to a knee injury that he suffered last season, but he's expected to return at some point this season. And over the past 3 seasons, PFF ranks him as the 4th among tackles, and he has established himself as a top 10 tackle in the league. Even though Harris had 4 1,000 rushing yard seasons with the Steelers, I'm giving this pick a C-. He lacks speed and explosiveness, which you need as a running back, and picking a slow running back in the first round is just not a good decision. He never elevated the Steelers' run game, with the Steelers consistently having a poor offense that couldn't run the football. Etienne missed his rookie season due to injury, and in his first 2 seasons he ran for 1,000 yards and looked like one of the better running backs in the league, but last season he really struggled, and it looked like his running back 1 job might not even be safe, but he's looked pretty good through 2 games so far, so if he can get back to his previous self, his grade will be a little higher, but as of now I'm going C+. Greg Newsome is a low-end corner too, but a high-end backup, but only starting now because of Martin Emerson's injury. He had his worst season last year, only starting 3 games, but allowing nearly 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in coverage with 15 yards per completion. I'll give him a C because he was already his first 3 seasons and still a solid rotational corner. Bateman was underwhelming his first 3 seasons, but it looked like he was finally putting it together last season, having 756 yards and 9 touchdowns. This season he only has 25 yards through 2 games, but I'm not going to panic after 2 games, especially since the Ravens handed him out a 3-year extension in the offseason. I'm going to give him a C because he's coming off the best year of his career, but looked like a bust the years before, so I'll have to see more before I move his grade up. Turner's never started a game in the NFL and only has 5 sacks through 31 career games, and is now on IR with the Cowboys and will probably struggle to stay in the league much longer, so he gets an F. Stokes had a solid rookie season, but it's just gone downhill from there with him playing worse and struggling to stay on the field. He had his 5th-year option declined and starts with the Raiders now. I'll give him a C minus since he's still a good rotational corner, but not necessarily someone you want out there the whole game. Russo is one of the few good selections made towards the end of the first round, being a very productive edge rusher for Buffalo. He was alright his first 3 seasons, but he had the best year of his career last year with a career high in sacks, tackles, forced fumbles, tackles for loss, and QB hits, and Buffalo rewarded him with extending him to a 4-year, $80 million deal. At 31, we have another solid edge rusher, with the Ravens taking Odafe Oweh. Oweh doubled his career high sacks last season, finishing with 10, and is a key contributor on the Ravens' elite defense, so he gets a B. To finish out the video, we have Joe Tryon, who is underwhelming with only 15 sacks through 68 career games and only 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss last year with Tampa. They decided not to re-sign him, and he's now on the Browns.